What up, world? Welcome to Full Sail Live. I'm AJ Johnson. The NFL free agency period opened a floodgate of movement as teams and divisions began to load up for the NFL 2022 season. Now, I don't think any division has gotten more loaded than the AFC West, and it all began with the Denver Broncos finally getting their quarterback. The Broncos decided finding their quarterback in the draft was no longer an option. Instead, they pull off a massive trade to receive Russell Wilson in exchange for multiple players, including Drew Lock. Arguably, the more important part of that is the first-round pick in this year and next year's draft. Wilson now becomes the 11th different starting quarterback since Peyton Manning in 2015. We now have Coby Roberts joining us to speak more about his Denver Broncos in the AFC West. Coby, simple question. Does Russell Wilson make the Broncos a Super Bowl contender?
Absolutely, he makes them in a Super Bowl contender. Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, in my opinion. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's been on a team that's been rushing the ball more than any team in the NFL, and now he gets to go away from that and join an offense that's going to be potent. They have guys as the likes of KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy. They also have Albert Okwuegbunam, and then they have Cortland Sutton. I mean, how many more guys do you need to mention? The fact that the Broncos are just so good as an offense, and they're going to be potent next year.
This was what they needed. The Broncos have been saying for years that they're a quarterback away, even so much as the last words of head coach Vic Fangio last season, and they finally got that guy. And it's going to be really good to see if these wide receivers can mesh the way we've all expected them to. Jerry Jeudy is one of the best route runners in the NFL. Cortland Sutton's one of the best deep threats in the NFL when he stays healthy. We'll see if KJ Hamler can be the new Tyler Lockett. Now, I think the biggest problem that he's going to have to deal with, though, is what else is in the AFC West at this point.
No, I mean, he has so much to worry about, but we also gotta think. I mean, Chandler Jones just came in the division. You still got you got Joey Bosa, you got Max Crosby, Khalil Max joined the division. You have edge rushers, but I don't really know how many D tackles are going to be able to stop Javonte in the backfield. So, I mean, finally, Russell Wilson has a little bit of backfield help. Rashad Penny was pretty good last year for him, but the AFC West is now loaded. But I still do think that the Broncos are going to pull this one out this next year.
Russell Wilson being gone from the Seahawks definitely needed to be out. They had 52 draft picks since 2016. 3 of them made the Pro Bowl, and 1 of them was a punter. I think Russell is much happier on the roster he is going forward. The Wilson trade was just one of the early big moves to kick off the free agency period. We've had teams reach out to every big name available in hopes of making a run for the Lombardi Trophy this upcoming season. Some other roster movement in the NFL that has shaken things up. Khalil Mack is headed to the Chargers as the Chicago Bears accept a 2nd and a 6th round pick in exchange for the 6-time Pro Bowler. Mack has had double-digit sacks in 3 of his last 5 seasons. And the Cleveland Browns make one of the biggest splashes so far, acquiring Deshaun Watson from Houston. Watson recently became a high-profile target after a grand jury declined to indict on any of the criminal charges filed against him. Lots of big names moving over the last few days, whether it be by trade or it be by free agency signing. So, Coby, tell me, who do you think has done the best job so far in this NFL free agency period?
AJ, there's a lot of winners, but the biggest winner, in my opinion, is easily the Chargers. They did so many different things this offseason. They got J.C. Jackson from the Patriots. They got Khalil Mack from the Bears. To pair up with already Joey Bosa, Derwin James. I mean, this defense was atrocious last year. They couldn't stop the run. Now they get guys that can rush the quarterback and stop the run. I mean, Derwin James and J.C. Jackson are 2 guys that can stop the run and stop passing in the secondary. So there's nothing that defense can't do now. And that's going to load a division like we already talked about earlier. But I definitely think that the Chargers have a defense to be reckoned with in the NFL now.
Yeah, the Chargers have definitely stepped it up. They've actually, in my opinion, have had a good defense for the last 5 or 6 years, but just haven't been able to stay away from injury. If that can happen, I can almost back your belief in the Chargers doing the best in free agency. However, sir, there's another team in the AFC that I picked to go to the Super Bowl last season who fell very far short, and this year will be much better. And that's the Cleveland Browns. What they were able to make happen with Deshaun Watson blows my mind. They were out of it already. Apparently Deshaun didn't even want to go there. And then at the 11th hour, they swoop back in, offer him $230 million guaranteed, highest guaranteed contract in NFL history. And now Deshaun Watson is the Cleveland Browns. Let's not forget they traded for Amari Cooper a couple weeks back. So now, or a couple days back rather, OBJ is now replaced with Amari Cooper, and Jarvis Landry may resign, and Deshaun Watson is a good enough guy to make that happen. So their offense isn't really going to take a step back. They got David Njoku as the tight end there, and we know what Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt bring to that running game. It is a loaded offense and a solid defense that is just getting older in the best way possible, as in more experience.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get what you're saying with the Browns, but I mean, that division's just as tough if you look at it than the AFC West. And in my opinion, Justin Herbert might be a little bit better than Deshaun. I mean, we haven't seen Deshaun in a year. Yes, he was amazing when he did play, but Justin Herbert, man, he looks amazing. That's all I'm saying, man. I mean, you saw him against the Raiders in that game where that they needed a must win. It wasn't his fault. It was the defense's fault that lost that game for them, that allowed that field goal at the very end that the Raiders inevitably kicked, even though they didn't need to. Both teams could have gone in, but that's neither here nor there. I definitely think that defense is going to step up, and Justin Herbert, if he's going to complete passes on 4th and 15 in crunch time 4 straight times, all I'm saying is that team's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Listen, Justin Herbert is good. Justin Herbert is up and coming. He is going to be a star in this league for many, many years. But don't come over here talking about better than Deshaun Watson. I'm sorry. We didn't see Jamar Chase for a year. He didn't play football for a year. And look what he just did from the wide receiver position. I have no doubt in my mind Deshaun Watson has stayed ready. Now, when you talk about the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers will probably be at least a winning record team because that's what Mike Tomlin does. But until we can see Lamar Jackson get over the hump, until we can see the Cincinnati Bengals get Joe Burrow a solid offensive line, give me the Cleveland Browns 2 times on Sunday, baby.
All I'm saying, the Cleveland Browns will be the Browns, man, and until they show it to me, I will not stand by it.
Deshaun Watson decided to go to the Cleveland Browns at the 11th hour. Once again, $230 million fully guaranteed. Free agency period is just getting started. We'll see what team really comes out on top before the beginning of the 2022 season. Coby, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, AJ. Appreciate you.
That's going to do it for this edition of Full Sail Live. Sack City Podcast is up next to keep you current with all the NFL free agency news. Thanks for tuning in.